currency turmoil in the world. That is a disaster the likes of which we have not seen often in world history. Just because what I'm mainly looking for is, where is the safe haven? Is there a safe haven? Yes, I own gold. Yes, I own silver. But even if the world suddenly goes to some kind of gold or silver standard, it'll take a long time. It won't happen quickly. And in the meantime, there'll be chaos and confusion and disaster. So my worry is, where is it? What is it? Who is it? Because it is going to be a huge problem. And if there is major currency turmoil in the world, that is a disaster the likes of which we have not seen often in world history. Right now, if and when we have a big bear market, for whatever reason, and it has to be horrendous, the debt everywhere is staggering. Staggering. I mean, you look at Tokyo, it's unbelievable how much debt they're building up every day. The Bank of Japan goes to work and gets more debt. Astonishing. They're good Japanese bureaucrats. They do it this. And I mean, as I look around, I don't see any place that's a safe haven. I own gold, I own silver, but if and when turmoil comes, it's going to be hard pressed to go down to the grocery store with my silver and say, I need a loaf of bread. You know, it's going to be very difficult everywhere. So what I'm afraid of is the next bear market is going to be very bad, because the debt in the U.S. and elsewhere, the world has never seen anything like this. And it keeps getting worse every day. It's not as though there's somebody saying, oh, we got to do something. Every day they say, we got to borrow more money. We got to print more money. So if and when the crisis comes and we're all forced to deal with a problem, that's called a horrible bear market. When the world is forced, when the market forces us all to deal with problems, that's a horrible bear market. Always has. Everybody has learned. Well, as you know, the world has had a very long, in fact, in the U.S., the longest prosperity without a problem in American history. And the politicians like that. They think it's fun. They think they'll get them elected. They don't particularly care about you and me. They care about getting elected. That's their reason for going to work every day. So they have learned to print money. It's not just the U.S. Many countries have been doing it. I mean, Japanese, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable how much they have been printing. But everybody's been doing it. And history shows, Andy, history shows me, that eventually leads to problems. Great. It's great while it's happening, but in the end, somebody has to pay the price. And you know what, Andy? You and I are going to pay the price, and a lot of other innocent people. At the moment, everybody looks out the window is having a very good time. There's money, lots of free money everywhere. So everybody thinks well, it is good. It's good for the moment. It's good for most people for the moment. But I repeat that history always shows that a lot of free money leads to problems. I don't know when. We don't have wild inflation yet. History shows it will come again. And when it comes, it has to be very bad, because this is the longest in American history. Now, Washington says, don't worry, solved all the problems. We'll never have problems again. The Secretary of the Treasury, Yellen, said, don't worry, you got it under control. She's got 2 fancy Ivy League degrees. So Well, but Andy, well, maybe I don't, maybe it is this time, but it never has been different. And this has always led to problems. I don't know when. Things are wonderful right now, but this always leads to problems, to repeat myself. And yes, I mean, I wish all we had to do was just say hooray and spend our money as fast as, but, and maybe it's different this time, Andy. Maybe it's finally different. Maybe they finally got it right. But that's not the way I'm investing. That's not the way I'm living my life. I know, yes, I'm not selling short, by the way. I'm not selling short yet because I don't see enough wild hysteria in the markets yet to make me sell short. But I'm certainly not buying. Well, this is 2024. In 1924, Britain was the richest, most powerful country in the world. Pound sterling that was all there was in 1924. As you well know, I'm sure, 50 years later, Britain was bankrupt, literally had bailed out by the IMF. Now, that went from number one with no competitor to bankrupt with the IMF paying their bills. Can that happen? Well, it has happened before, not just to Britain, to many other countries. So, Andy, I look at the American debt, and I mean, maybe I just cannot add, but I do not see any way that my children cannot have huge problems in their lifetime because of the U.S. dollar, problems with the U.S. dollar. I remember, 50 years ago, there were gigantic problems in the world with the British pound. Everybody was always trying to figure out, how do we save Britain? How do we save the pound? They eventually went bankrupt. Margaret Thatcher came along and supposedly saved Britain. She was elected in 1979. That was the same year that the North Sea oil started flowing into Britain. So you give me the largest oil field in the world, Andy, and I'll show you a very, very good time. And that's what Margaret Thatcher did. So I don't know what's going to save the U.S. We have a lot of oil, but not that much. Not comparative to what happened to Britain in those days. And I mean, Washington keeps saying, don't worry. But I keep adding and subtracting, and it makes me worried. Yeah. If I were buying one today, I would buy silver. Not because I'm talking to you, but no, I plan to sell my gold or my silver. I hope my children have it someday. History is very clear that when there's a disaster, you want to have some gold in the closet. You want to have some silver under the bed. So I'm an old peasant. I got some gold and silver in the closet and under the bed. And I hope I'm smart enough to get some more. Does the world need it? Or does it need it? But has the world always used gold? Yes. You remember Jesus Christ? He was sold for 30 pieces of silver. And, silver was the store of value in that part of the world in those days. It still is, for that matter. So gold and silver have always been useful and valuable. If you're smart and energetic, that is a huge, wonderful way to make a lot of money. If you buy a company that's got a silver mine in Berlin, oh my gosh, you're going to be rich. Or gold mine in Sydney or something, of course. But I mean, I guess I'm too lazy or not smart enough or whatever, but I have the real stuff. Well, unfortunately, I think I know that most central governments, most central banks in the world know that if they print money, they will look good for a while. So I see national debts everywhere, skyrocketing everywhere. And the only solution that they see to that is to print much more money increase the debts. So I see a world, it's happened before, where currencies are debased, the currencies lose their value. People are trying to figure out ways to survive. And we haven't even gotten to a war yet, because often when things are going bad somewhere, the politicians blame the foreigners, whoever the foreigners are, it doesn't matter. They always say, not us. We're good, solid human beings. It's those few horrible foreigners that are causing the problem. It's always happened that way, and I suspect they will again. Doesn't matter who the foreigners are, they find some foreigners. They always find some foreigners. So I see, well, between now and then, a lot more turmoil, a lot more currency debasement, disasters in currencies, debt, bankruptcies. And usually periods like that have some war. Am I suggesting any of this is good? No. I've read enough to know it's horrible. It's stupid. It's foolish. Is it going to happen? It always has. Yes, I own a lot of U.S. dollars right now. And you'll probably say, well, why? And I own U.S. dollars because when things go wrong, people look for what they think is a safe haven. At the moment, the world thinks the U.S. dollar is a safe haven. It's not, but they think it is, so it will be for a while. Now, I own a lot of them. And your question is, what comes next to compete with the dollar? And Andy, I don't have an answer. I hope you do, because I look for it every day. And so far, I've not found it. In theory, it could be the Chinese currency, but the Chinese currency is not convertible. So you cannot have a world currency that's not even convertible. So I don't see one out there. I don't see the euro pulling it off. I don't see anybody. If you know what's coming next, please do not announce it. Please send me a private email, because I'm looking every day, and I don't see anybody on the horizon that. And to repeat, if China went convertible today, say, which it'll take a while, nothing can happen that quickly in people's minds. So I don't know what it is. And I assure you, every day I try to figure it out and have not figured out what the next competitor to the dollar will.
The unprecedented levels of global debt and continuous money printing by central banks should make investors cautious. Rogers emphasizes that the current debt levels, particularly in countries like Japan and the U.S., are staggering, and the world has never seen anything like this. History shows that periods of excessive money printing and debt accumulation eventually lead to serious problems. Even if things appear fine in the short term, having tangible precious metals like gold and silver as a form of insurance against currency crises is prudent. Rogers mentions keeping gold in the closet and silver under the bed as a historically proven safety net during financial disasters. However, he also cautions that even with precious metals, there will be practical challenges during times of crisis, such as using them for everyday transactions like buying bread. No matter how prosperous things seem, investors should remember that market cycles and major corrections are inevitable. Rogers points out that the U.S. has experienced its longest period of prosperity, but warns against believing this time is different. He uses Britain as a cautionary tale, how it went from being the world's richest and most powerful nation in 1924 to requiring an IMF bailout 50 years later. This suggests investors should remain humble and prepare for potential major market reversals, regardless of how strong current conditions appear.